where I and my partner Pimp C were raised in the small town, um, it affected the way we communicated with the world, not just through music, but personally. We wanted to make sure that people understood us. We were always a group that never wanted to put a wall up between the people that listened to their music, because there was no walls where we came from. Everybody knew everybody. You know, you could just be sitting in a living room and somebody walk up and just come in the screen door, "What's up, man? What y'all doing over here?" type of thing. So we wanted to make sure that as a group and with our music that we were as open to people as our city was, you know. Pimp would make beats all day. You know, most producers, that's pretty much what they do. They wake up, they go to the machine and they start making music. They'll probably make 4 or 5, sometimes even as many as 10 songs, but most producers I know will make it, listen to it, you be like, "Damn, that shit dope, that shit dope." And they'll be like, "Nah, that's bullshit." Clear the whole board. I'll be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Like, "Man, that shit was garbage." And they'll start again. Be like, "Damn, actually that's better than the last shit." "Yeah, but I don't like the drums, fuck that shit." I'm like, "Come on, man, what you doing?" And you be like, "No, man, if we gonna do it, it's got to be perfect. Every song, we can't put out half-ass music, not if we care about what we're doing and not for who we represent, because people where we're from don't get a second chance. So when we come, we gotta come with it." And he was always right.
So the Tell Me Something Good record, do you remember how it came about when you recorded it?
Yeah, we did that record actually in Pimp C's at his mom's house. All the first album, all the pre-production was done at Pimp's mom's house. But Tell Me Something Good specifically, we had originally started doing all the music in Pimp's bedroom because he only had a little keyboard and a little sampler and a little Dr. Rhythm drum machine and shit. We were making everything literally in the bedroom, rapping on a Radio Shack microphone. So then we started like saving up money and investing in bigger equipment. We all went in and got an Sonic. And once we got the Sonic, it was too big for the bedroom. So his mom was like, "Well, y'all can put that shit in the den, but let me know when y'all gonna make that music so I can, you know, go in my room or something." But you know, we were making music that at first, you know, his stepfather, Monroe, you know, he would just call it noise because he was from a different generation. He didn't really understand it. And, you know, that's a lot of the older people would just call it noise. So for us, we wanted to incorporate records into our records that we knew our parents listened to and was the shit for them. And we were just gonna put our little rap spin on it and make it happen. So Tell Me Something Good, the original record was by Rufus featuring Chaka Khan. Anybody over 30 years old in the US knows this record. You know what I'm saying? It's a major record. It's always a party starter. My mother loves the record. His mother, everybody's mom loves the fucking record. So we was like, shit, we do Tell Me Something Good, and you know, at least they won't complain about that one. You know what I'm saying? And so every album we wanted to try to pull some of those old records that we knew people loved from a different generation, just so they would be able to have a chance to get into us a little bit. You know, they weren't gonna listen to Pocket Full of Stones, but maybe we can get them to listen to One Day. You know what I'm saying? I met Screw in '92, before the mixtapes were going on. Screw was, well, before the Screw tapes as we know it. At the time, Screw was just he was a mixtape DJ like everybody else. You know, he was making mixtapes and selling them. It was, you know, just a regular thing. And probably around the end of '92, towards late '92, I got one of his mixtapes and it was totally fucking different. Like the shit was all slow. So I brought the shit back. I was like, "Screw, man, my tape is fucked up like it's," because if you remember back in the cassette days, I don't know how many, anybody here ever actually bought a cassette tape? All right, I like that shit. 10 years ago, did you buy a cassette tape? Like the ones to record on, not just like an album, but like when you buy a 90 or 100-minute cassette tape. If you would get the 100-minute ones, sometimes it'd be so much tape in that shit that it would get caught up. And especially back then, like, you know, like if you tape too much and your shit pop, then you have to get out and splice it and get some Scotch tape and shit. Like, I mean, the clear tape and patch the shit back up. Sometimes it would get too thick. Like me, I'd have some that was popped in 2 or 3 different places. So the shit would get all fucked up and caught up inside of it. So I was like, "Screw, my shit must be fucked up. Maybe it's too much tape or something in here." He was like, "Oh, my bad." He gave me another one. This shit sounded the same way. I said, "Man, this shit, something wrong with this one too." He's like, "Nah, man, that's how it go. That's how it's supposed to sound." I'm like, "Okay, all right." So I rolled around with it. I was like, I don't get this shit. And then I heard myself. I was like, "Whoa, nah, I really don't understand this shit. Like, my shit was never meant to be like this. So in my own mind, I couldn't really grasp the concept of that shit. Then one night I went out to the car wash on MLK. It was a Saturday night, and I heard it playing in a car with a lot of system, like a lot of bass in that motherfucker. And I heard how long that bass kick would last with the record being played at a third of the speed. I was like, that's what this shit is about. This shit is about making the bass even louder. You can play it even harder. I said, okay, maybe I can get used to this shit. Then when I smoked me a blunt or two, then it really started making a little bit more sense. I'm like, yeah, I can get into this shit now for real, because it was more mellow and laid back. It's not something that you have to be high to get, but you do need to be in a very relaxed state of mind. So if you can get yourself in your own personal Xanadu without doing drugs, that is beautiful. I absolutely recommend that. But if you're already doing something, then screw music is the perfect thing to do it to.
When do you think that turned around? When did the South became what it is now?
Oh, when Mind Playing Tricks went to #1 on the charts, and not just on the rap charts. It was the #1 record in the country. And you know, the Ghetto Boys, really the Ghetto Boys and the 2 Live Crew, these people went out and they went to every one of these cities before any of us did. They went out there when we didn't know what people would think of us. They didn't care. Jay Prince and Ravel Out Records, they basically formed the path that everybody walks now. You know what I'm saying? So it's easy for us to do it now. But back then, for one, being from the South, everybody assumes that if you're not just stupid, you're at least dumber than them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just a given. So that's got nothing to do with music. That's just being a Southerner, just being a Southern person. They assume you're stupid, you're uneducated, you're ignorant, you're tacky, you got no fresh, no swag, none of that shit, and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So the first thing to do was to try to break that idea of that notion. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that came through the lyricism of Scarface, with him being such an incredible writer, you know, and lyricist back then. And people just really had to give it up for the group. Like, yo, this dude here is a real fucking rapper.
Our generation, I think a lot of people grow up with listening to chart shows on the radio, and it was always about this, oh, who's #1? It was very important, yeah. Was it like that with you as well?
At that point, yeah, because, you know, we started understanding the game a little bit better, and we started understanding that, you know what, there's enough people that fuck with UGK that if this record drops on the right day and say, you know, Mariah Carey or Celine Dion or you know, Tim McGraw, somebody that usually sells 5 or 6 fucking thousand albums the first week, if nobody like that comes out, we may actually have a shot at having the #1 album in the country. And for us, once again, being from Port Arthur, Texas, little bitty ass town, it would have meant the world to, you know, to them, because a lot of times, you know, when you're an entertainer or, you know, a person of influence or whatever it may be, lots of people tend to live their lives vicariously through you, and they take their success through your success. So it's kind of like with us being from Port Arthur, when another kid from Port Arthur sees us, it's like, if UGK can do that, then I can too. And that kind of shit is important. So for us to be able to have the #1 album in the country coming from where we're from, it meant everything, because it's just that much more inspiration to a lot of people who don't really have a lot to be inspired by.